So I'm excited to do a video about this. I've wanted a vintage radio for a long time, and this weekend I purchased a Rekord Junior 196 made by EMUD in West Germany. It's I believe designed or built in 1959. It was imported into the United States by a company called Linsey Electronics. There we go. From what I understand, Linsey Electronics is still around today. Based on some Google searches, they mostly specialize in consumer and industrial sound installations. But I thought that was kind of neat that the company that brought it in is still around today. Here is the model number information. So I've wanted a radio for a long time. I kind of fell in love with vintage radio programs when I was a kid. My parents and my grandmother bought me a set of the Shadow and old Jack Benny recordings, and that's actually what I have on in the background. So I've gotten older and I've learned more about vintage electronics and really just mid-century design in general. I've fallen more and more in love with it. Something that I always liked as a kid but didn't understand. Now I'm old enough to understand why I liked it. The clean lines, just the classic design, the ageless design. So let's talk about the case a little bit here. It's in fantastic shape. I did clean up the knobs. You can see some of the bronzing is tarnished there, or whatever the cover is, and a little on there, but this knob's actually in really good condition. The grill is in fantastic shape. All of the glass or the plastic and the labels is great. I did clean that up a little bit, just with some plastic cleaner. The case is in amazing shape. There's some standard stress lines from the veneer, so you can see that here, and some wear and tear just on the corners. You've got some nicks there, and this side's got a couple deep scratches. I'm going to research how I might be able to clean those up. But otherwise, it's in really, really nice condition. And I bought it mostly as a display piece, though I do intend to eventually refurbish it so that it functions. I did buy it. I do want it to function. It works now. I can turn it on. The tubes all light up. The AM works perfectly. There's a light hum, so I'm sure there's something about to go in the back. I only power it up for a little bit at a time, but I do want to use it eventually. But for now, I mainly purchased it as a display case or a display piece. I'll show you on the back. The original cable is attached. As you can see here, there is some fraying on that, so I'll have to research how to repair that. I'm hesitant to run this more than just a minute or so, and I'm not going to on this video because I'm not near a good power source to plug this in anyways. So let's turn around the case here. So it has 6 tubes. There is a tube in the back here. There's this one right here. And there's one small one there, a really teeny. There, you can see me move it a little bit. These two here, this one here, and then there's one more tube here. I did clean out the dust inside, and I've done some general cleaning. These tubes look remarkably clean because I wiped them down, so that's why they might look new. While I was cleaning them, some of the paint on the outside started to wipe off, so I stopped until I could get the schematics to find out what types of tubes they were, and from what I understand, all the tubes I can still purchase. So I may just swap those out, even if these tubes are still good, just so I have like a piece of me in there. Most of the components look good. The speaker is in fantastic shape and actually sounds really good. Both the speakers do. So I don't think this was too heavy of a use unit. I don't know too much about the electronics. I've still been educating myself over the last couple years, but the power supply and everything that I've checked looks good. This component here has some gunk popping out there, so whatever this is, I'm sure is going to go pretty soon, and I'm sure these things, whatever's inside here, are probably in pretty rough shape. But the tubes look pretty good. So that's cool. There's no heat damage that I can tell, or any sort of, doesn't look like anything popped at any point inside of this. There's no carbon damage or scorching or anything on the inside, so I don't see any electronic damage. But it's not quite as good a story once we flip it over and start talking about what's on the underside, although by no means is it in rough shape down here. So I did clean this up as well. And the caps, oddly enough, are in really good condition. So I don't know if they've been replaced or serviced. I don't know enough about the type of capacitors in here. But you can see, you've got the coil over there. I haven't taken this out of the case yet, but there are some pieces that look like they're wearing out here. Whatever this is, looks like it's about to go. This one too. It's a really bad one. Let's see if I remember where yeah, there he is. So this guy here, that guy there look like they're in bad shape. And there is one more down here. It looks like it's in bad shape. So I don't know what any of those do, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to run this for more than just a minute or two to see it heat up. The AM still works. I don't have an antenna for the FM, so I don't know how that goes, but by and large, I don't have any reason not to believe that it works if I had the proper antenna. But I'll get this out and take a look, and I'm going to see if I can find some people in the area to help me repair some of these and just kind of go over some things. Like I said, the capacitors look like they're in pretty good shape. I don't see anything that are puffy other than the ones I pointed out, so I don't know if this has been worked on in the past or not. So we'll see. I'll eventually have somebody look at this. But here's where I need some help, and I'm hoping some people find this video and can help me out, and I'll be joining some of the vintage radio forums and stuff here too. But there is a spot for an antenna and a pickup, which I believe is the phono input here, and then a second loudspeaker. So there's two in here. There's two speakers, and I think this would allow me to hook up a third. However, the inputs on the back I've never seen before, and I don't know much about them. So this is, I've hooked up FM antennas to just other receivers in the past, just regular stereo receivers, but I've never had a plug. I've always had just the two wires you plug in. The same thing for this. This looks like it's a certain type of plug or jack. I believe there's probably a thin line there, and then two little pieces on the side, kind of like the cable here, something thin like that for the middle, and then two round inputs, and then a similar thing over here. I don't know. Maybe these are just old style RCA inputs. I'm not sure, but if you can point me to anything that can educate me at all on what those inputs are, I would appreciate it, so I can kind of learn about it. I don't really know what the inputs are, and I'd like to find out. Long term, I would like to hook up an FM antenna. I would like to get an input so that I could hook up my radio. I have a large, my computers. I have a large collection of vintage radio programs, and really a lot of classic big band music from the late 30s through the 50s. That I would love to be able to listen through this like it was intended back in the day. So that's kind of a project for me over the next 6 months as I slowly work on this and get it working. I think it's gorgeous. I'm sure it's not the best radio out there, but I got it for a very reasonable price based on what I can tell. Like I said, it works. At least it has components that currently function that I'm sure are ready to go at any time. So. But yeah, it's great. It looks fantastic on my shelf, and I couldn't be happier.